Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest Grace Yoo. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, this Los Angeles native has been seen as Florinda in the Hollywood Bowl's production of Into the Woods in 2019, the recent national tour of A Christmas Carol, and she is currently in Hadestown on Broadway, where she is part of the Workers' Chorus and understudies both Eurydice and Two Fates. Please welcome Grace Yoo. How have you been doing? Speaking of LA, I know you're from LA, right?
Yes, born and raised in LA. I just got back from my vacation, so I spent a week there, just went back home, got to see lots of friends, eat lots of food, and go to a wedding of a dear friend of mine. So I just got back Monday, and then this is my first week back.
I feel like it's wedding season. I keep seeing all these wedding posts on my Instagram timeline, and I'm like, there's so many weddings happening right now.
Yes, there are. I feel like a lot of them are also just this had to be postponed because of COVID. So here we are doing this 2 years later or 1 year later, so.
Yes, so true. I mean, speaking of which, how did you handle that break in theater and performing live on stages during COVID?
Gosh, let me try to recall that time. It's it wasn't so far long ago, but it seems so long ago. Probably didn't handle it well in the beginning. I actually had started rehearsals for Bernhardt Hamlet at the Geffen Playhouse. And that's right by UCLA. Yeah. And it was going to be my Geffen debut. And I was so excited. We had done the read through, and then I get a call the next day saying, and I literally thought, I'm like, oh God, am I being replaced? Or after the read through where they hey, actually, we're going to go a different direction. But literally they called to say the production's been canceled because of COVID. And so that was so sad. But then everything started. I was like, but Broadway wouldn't shut down, right? Theaters in LA were closing, but I was like, but Broadway's gonna stay open. Ha!
Nope.
Yeah.
They said nope.
Nope. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of puzzles involved, a lot of Great British Bake Off, Master Chef, Hell's Kitchen. Yes. Lots of that kind of binge watching happening. I've baked bread. I've done all the cliche pandemic hobbies, I think, that most people have picked up on.
The bread thing was everyone started making bread at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was so great because I feel like theater kind of took a virtual turn during that time. Mm-hmm. And people discovered, hey, maybe we can't do theater to the full extent virtually, but we can make things happen virtually too. So that was kind of.
Yeah, I've done a couple of, virtual events also over the pandemic, and that was so wild, but it worked.
Yes, exactly. So I want to go back to, when did you first realize that you wanted to perform and be on stage and sing and dance for a living?
Gosh, I was just talking about this today with my physical therapist. It's kind of interesting because I think I've always grown up from a young age performing. That's because, my mom, she went to this Korean traditional dance studio out in Koreatown in Los Angeles. And, the kids would come along, and that's where I kind of got exposed to performing and learning how to dance, obviously Korean traditional dances, but also they would have jazz, hip hop, ballet, tap, a little bit of everything. So that's, and we would perform in these parades and local events and things like that. As far as singing, you know, I just remember like, singing all the time at home, just on the piano, even though I don't know how to play, like just with my sister, always singing. And we would go to these karaoke rooms with my parents. It's not like a karaoke bar where you're just singing in front of strangers. You literally like rent, I don't know. Yeah, well, you rent a room, and we just had family friends, and I remember just belting "My Heart Will Go On." That was my 11 o'clock number. Uh just like a 7-year-old belting Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On." And also grew up singing in church. And yeah, but it's kind of ironic because in kindergarten, when my teacher asked me to play Dorothy in Wizard of Oz, I really didn't want to.
Oh, okay.
My mother had to bribe me with candy, but I ended up doing it for the candy. And it's just funny that it became, like my calling now, because at the time as a kid, she was saying I really didn't want to do it. And then I think it was in high school that I kind of stumbled into theater by accident, with the encouragement of my besties at the time. They were like, we should take this class. And I was the only one who ended up doing it for all 4 years. And yeah, it wasn't until like junior year of my college days that I changed my major to theater, because I was planning on becoming a teacher in my whole life.
See, it goes to show that, like, first of all, you're so young when you go to college that it's like, we're expected to know, like, going into college what we want to do for the rest of our lives and stuff. But it goes to show, like, hey, you can go and find out what you love in college and find out what you want to do in college.
Yeah, and it was so funny because I really was sure that this was my path, like education, becoming an elementary school teacher. I specifically picked out a public school or public university that offered like a specific program. And yeah, I remember feeling a lot of pressure too from just peers, and when I was in high school, of just like, why aren't you applying to any Ivy Leagues or UCs or these, expensive schools? And I was just like, you know what, like, I know what I want, and many of them were going to these schools, expensive schools, and they didn't know what they wanted to do. So I'm just like, well, so I always want to encourage people who are considering or aren't considering college in their future, like for their higher education. It's like, really make it your choice. Don't be pressured into doing what your parents want or what your friends think is, or your peers. It really should be a personal choice, because student loan debt is not fun.
Nope.
So really know what you want. And if you want that experience and you're willing to make that investment, then go for it. But there is nothing like shameful about going to a community college and then transferring, or I don't know, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that too.
Yes. It took me like 7 years to complete college because I went for film and then I went to a community college, and then I chose communications with an emphasis in film and television. And I was like, all my friends have already graduated, but like, it's fine. I'm getting the experience I need, and I'm learning, and I'm getting internships. And I feel like it's good to know it's never too late to change paths in college.
Absolutely. And I also took like 2 semesters off of school, not like back to back, but once in sophomore year and once in my senior year, I guess. So I ended up graduating in 5 years. And I also know that's like something that people feel shame about too. Not all people, but I'm just saying, like, if it's not within 4 years, it's like, you're a failure, or what took you so long? But it's like, everyone's on their own personal journey. Yeah.
Yeah. you got to pace yourself, otherwise there's burnout and stuff. And hey,
and just financially, like it might not make sense for some people to continue school, or they need to take that break for those reasons. So it's like you should never, yeah, we should stop judging people.
exactly. I totally agree. So, do you remember the first theater show that you ever saw, whether it was professional or a regional show, where you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! This is the best thing I've ever seen"?
I've definitely grown up seeing, maybe theater here and there, or just, yeah, being, exposed to the arts. But it really actually was Wicked at the Pantages Theater.
Yes.
That, the cliche defying gravity moment where I was like, I want to do that. That person gets paid to do this. That's kind of cool. And I remember thinking like, oh, that would be really cool to do as a job.
Yes. And we all grow up with like the Wizard of Oz and stuff. I mean, speaking of
Yeah, full circle.
full circle kind of, because the Dorothy moment,
Mm-hmm.
but we all grow up with the Wizard of Oz, so it's like, oh, I get to hear the story told in a different way, and
Mm-hmm.
see Elphaba portrayed as like the hero of, basically.
Yeah, I just remember like it really felt like I was in a different world, and yeah,
Do you
that's
remember who you saw in the cast?
oh gosh, I don't. Because it was my first professional theater going experience for a musical anyway. And I was a sophomore in high school. So I really don't remember, which sounds terrible, but
So you were like, I don't know.
like I know it changed my life, but I don't know their names. But I'm sure if I look it up, go back in the Rolodex there or search online who it was, but I don't remember the names.
LA always has good casts, so
Yes, they return a lot to this particular theater too. So
yeah.
many touring companies have come and gone specifically for that show. Not to justify the fact that I don't remember, but yeah.
No, there's so many, and it's been touring for forever, so
Yeah.
so
And I couldn't tell you, like, I don't even know if I knew like what the understudy slips or what understudies even were. So like I couldn't even tell you if, who I saw was an understudy cast or a full cast. So it literally was my first like just kind of awakening to the whole like, oh wow, this is a thing.
So I looked at your resume, and you've done like Into the Woods at the Hollywood Bowl, which is insane. I'm sure that was a bucket list item checked off growing up in LA. You did a Christmas Carol recently, and now you're in Hadestown. Speaking of understudying, when was your first experience being introduced to like the world of understudying as an actress?
Yeah, I want to say basically in the LA theater scene, at least really before COVID, they didn't have understudies because the runs were so short. Or if they did have an understudy or an alternate cast, it was like a very specific show or something like that. But I don't know if we even had understudies for the Hollywood Bowl actually, because it was only three nights of performing. But Christmas Carol actually was the first time I got to experience understudying. And it was 2 roles. And I got to go on for both those roles, which, yeah, it was very, very informative. And currently with Hadestown, I am understudying Eurydice and 2 of the Fates.
I was gonna ask because I know that you understudy the Fates, but I didn't know if you understudy 2 of them, 1 of them, 3, like all of them.
I think like the music director tried to see if I could, cover the 3rd one, which that's the one on the accordion with all the low notes, and I was like, well, I don't have them. So I'm understudying the Fate on the violin, and the Fate not on the violin and the accordion. Fate 2 gets to play the bells and I don't even know what those instruments are called. Wow. But this is growing great. I'm a great
So what did you learn in A Christmas Carol? I know it got cut short because
yeah, didn't even
COVID. I went and I was because I saw a lot of regional theater in LA and I knew Alex Nee in the show.
Okay, cool.
So I went, and then the night I went, they were like, yeah, so the show is canceled.
Show when people were already in the audience for like 20 minutes.
That one.
Oh my gosh, that was a nightmare. Yeah, that was so unfortunate. Like I was personally so excited because more than the Hollywood Bowl being a bucket list, it really was the Ahmanson. Although I will say, because Hollywood Bowl I didn't even think was a possibility for me. So when that happened, it was like so incredible. Like I don't think I will ever experience something like that again, unless I go back to perform at the Hollywood Bowl. But and that specific cast that we had with just like people I've, looked up to, and getting to share the same stage as them, like it was a very surreal experience. I mean, but with A Christmas Carol too, like, hello, like Bradley Whitford was our script. Right? And everybody's story from that cast is that I got COVID because I kissed Bradley Whitford. That's like the story everybody uses now. But yeah, that was really sad. We were all very excited, me especially too, because it was like my hometown. We were at the Ahmanson. I, saw Spring Awakening there also in high school. Yeah. And one of our castmates in A Christmas Carol, I saw in that Spring Awakening tour, that cast, yeah.
Whoa, another full circle thing.
Yes, another full circle thing. But yeah, what was the question again? I'm so like thinking of, everything all at once.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna go back to Hollywood Bowl briefly before I get into Hadestown.
Right.
But the question was like, what did you learn from A Christmas Carol about understudying that has helped you with Hadestown?
To focus on learning one track at a time. To give myself grace.
Yes.
To not strive for perfection. Focus on progress. And it's so different because with A Christmas Carol, it was a play with music, and Hadestown is different because it's a musical. Yeah. So there's like differences between those two as well. And I think my experience was very different with understudying Christmas Carol and then Hadestown, because with A Christmas Carol, I had a rehearsal process with the whole cast, where as I was learning my own ensemble track, I was able to literally study them. Like, whenever they're rehearsing, I get to also write down the blocking and hear what's happening in the room with the director and how they're basically creating, right, the show or staging, recreating. Whereas in Hadestown, you're kind of learning it by yourself with your dance captain or, so those were also very different. But I think the main thing is to just take it one track at a time, breathe, and give yourself grace, because it definitely does not get easier. At least for me, because I also walk with a lot of anxiety. So it's not very ideal for someone who has to understudy multiple roles. But and also if you're a recovering perfectionist like me as well, it's never easy. But I don't know, it felt like everything, the timing of everything, how there was A Christmas Carol, and I actually auditioned for Hadestown while I got COVID from A Christmas Carol in my bedroom. Oh! I was doing the dance portion like literally quarantining in my tiny bedroom in LA. And I remember trying to do the chant choreo, but I was like doing it in place.
With COVID?
It was wild. But
Oh my gosh.
all of it felt like just, divine timing, like the universe preparing me.
Yeah.
God ordaining my steps of just preparing me to launch into literally launch into New York City. Like I moved here in like a week. So
wow. I
yeah.
mean, it goes to show that like whether you're expecting things to go like one way or another, like everything kind of happens for a reason in life. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
So was it magical getting to perform in A Christmas Carol during the holiday season and like
so we didn't make it to Christmas?
I mean, but like it's still like you like November through like the beginning of December.
Right. It really was. I don't think I got to go on for any of my tracks until we were in LA, actually. I want to say. Maybe not. Or maybe I did do one of my tracks in a different city, but regardless, it definitely was magical. Like it doesn't snow in LA, so the fake snow really made it magical. And gosh, like getting to perform with that cast also was, again, I was so grateful. With going on for Belle and Little Fan, especially, like I also remember something I will forever carry with me was just how much the on stage like cast, or the original Belle or the original Little Fan, like they made sure to help me like when I needed. The Belle sent like an extensive notes thing, and I remember just like looking through that as I was doing the show. It just that kind of kindness and looking out for your castmates, like I really take with me, and I will remember. But yeah, it definitely was magical to just not be, in the audience. Like I was in the balcony singing Spring Awakening, and then now I'm on the stage looking out and seeing the audience. That was very magical.
I mean, and the light, like I wish I had gotten to see the show that year, but the lighting, like even and like the setup on the stage, like when I entered, it just like that as a whole just felt magical too.
Yeah, and the whatever they did in the Ahmanson like was like an additional installment of the hanging like lanterns or lights over the audience. I want to say it was definitely maybe even double what we did in Spokane or Phoenix or Vegas. Like
Wow.
it was like a whole installation for specifically the Ahmanson run.
They did they did really good setting that up.
Yeah, I learned how to play handbells, and set was beautiful because it was so simple.
Yes.
And I remember like I was also part of the pre-show, playing my little ukulele. Yeah, it was a really special production. Like it really was.
And I'm so glad, before I get into Hollywood Bowl, I'm so glad you mentioned Give Yourself Grace, because I feel like performers are so like naturally tough on themselves.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are their own worst critic, right? Like
yes, exactly. So I feel like that's another thing that's very important to hear. So quickly, Hollywood Bowl, what was the thing that you'll always remember from that experience? Did you get any advice from fellow performers or learn anything from fellow performers? Who were you starstruck by in the cast?
Everybody. Like I couldn't. It's so funny. The more starstruck I am, like I will not talk to you or acknowledge that you're there because I'm just so nervous to even speak. and you don't want to like bother them or feel like you're just talking to them to like, so I'm just like this. But golly, like where do I even begin? um I will say the whole even audition process of it was wild because I definitely sang a Megan Trainor song for a Sondheim show.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's amazing, actually. That's really cool.
I knew I was going in for the stepsister, and like in the breakdown they said something about like, they're very like, I think they even used the word Kardashian, dare I say. So they were just looking for, and I remember singing Me Too by Megan Trainor.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, was that? Yes, it was. And then I think I also sang It's a Hard Knock Life from Annie. But
Yes.
very like dramatic and Florinda-esque in my Florinda way. Yeah.
Yes.
Recommend it, but that time it worked. A specific moment. I remember one time, this was during our like tech days, during a dinner when somehow I overcame my shyness and we were at the same table, like with Patina Miller. I think Sierra was there too. I'm not sure if, I don't think Sutton was, but it's like these name drops, right? Of like, oh, are they my castmates?
Like, I can't believe that I actually am here in the room thing. Yeah.
Like legends. Yeah, I know like if they hear, I mean, I don't know, maybe they will. Hey guys. But
Shout out.
they're all so humble, so it's like, stop, like, but I remember asking like Patina Miller specifically, like, what would you say to your 26-year-old self or something like that? Because I think I was 26 at the time. So I was like, and I think she said something like, well, that was a year I won the Tonys. I was like, okay, great. You're doing really great. But I think she also mentioned like her time in London, when she was out there, I think for Sister Act, maybe she was saying how like it really was like a lonely time, and to not be afraid of that time to be alone and to like find out who you are. And I think she even said something like, uh, just, I don't know if this was before, obviously, maybe, but how she would be like a series regular on a soap opera. I think All My Children or something, Days of Our Lives, maybe All My Children, I'm not sure, one of those soap operas. She was like a recurring series regular, and she would still be a hostess at a restaurant.
Oh my gosh. Double tasking.
People would recognize her, like, oh, like, are you from that TV show? And she's like, yes. How many people in your party? Like, so that level of hustle she was talking about, like, really, like, I just remember tearing up because I was also a hostess at the time. At the time that I booked the Hollywood Bowl. And I still went back to my hostessing job after we closed, because again, it was like a 3 just day run,
Yeah.
So just that kind of really inspired me, that level of just like focus and humility and like not being ashamed, or whatever you have to do to get to where you want to be, to that like hustle, to not, just really lean into it. And I think I'll remember that conversation.
I was going to say, speaking of hustle too, you all put on a show at the Hollywood Bowl. It's like, I don't know, how long is the rehearsal period for musicals at the Hollywood Bowl?
It's like 2 weeks. I want to say we had one more week, but also a lot of the New York cast, or the people who were brought from New York, I also believe they started music rehearsals maybe individually or something like that, because people were off book on day one, and I was like, what? And or maybe they did it on their own, and it was something I also learned of, like, oh, I guess I should have come more prepared as well. But yeah, it's a very fast process. Yeah, I think anything at the bowl, musicals that are done, it's like usually 2 to 3 weeks of rehearsal, and that's it.
And it's a giant stage, giant audience, and
Yes.
huge production.
And lots of lyrics for, you know,
Yeah.
all the different characters. I just remember like Sutton like crocheting, cause that's like, you know, her thing, her lifeline, and just like going over her lyrics, and just wild, you know. Wild.
Yeah, and it's not an easy show by any means. No. So like 2 weeks of rehearsal is like, what?
Yeah. I'm certain that they tried to learn their music before they even started day one, because trying to learn it in 10 days is not enough time. For fun time.
Difficult for everyone, but everything comes together so beautifully in those 3 shows.
Yeah. I mean, we had a really, I mean, it was crazy to see Into the Woods here with Patina, you know, again, like, I guess the theme is full circles today, but just wild, like seeing Patina then and then seeing Patina now, as, you know, do the same role. And yeah, that was wild.
I like some full circle moments. So I want to get into Hadestown because I'm obsessed with Hadestown. I saw it in previews in 2019 and it's just like genius.
Oh, wow.
So when did you find out that you were going to be in Hadestown after auditioning, and what was your reaction? What did you know about Hadestown previously?
What did I know about Hadestown previously? I knew that there were pretty lamps happening.
Yes.
I knew that even Noblezada the rock star was in the show and got nominated. You know, and obviously, how can I forget Sir Andre de Shields?
Yes.
That Tony speech, that is one for the books. That's really what I recall about the music and the show. I think I knew that it was based off like the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. So again, like, it was when I had COVID and the shutdown, and I got the audition like in December. And I think because of the holidays, I didn't really hear anything until like early January. But it was literally like, I had to be in New York in a matter of days for the callback.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so anyway, I made it happen because that was my trade-off of like, instead of just packing my bags and moving to New York and hustling here till I land something, I was going to stay based in LA. And because this pandemic, you know, it was brought a lot of horrible things, or like uncovered a lot of really, really horrendous things. But it also brought some gifts of like the gift of self-tapes and being able to audition from wherever, whenever. But this one specifically, they had to see in person for the final callback. And so I took a risk and I flew out there. And I think I heard back maybe in like, again, a couple of days. And then I had to start rehearsals like in a week.
So it was really, really quick.
Yes. And I think it was also because I was submitted as like a New York local. So the expectation is that you are in New York and you're available to work like immediately. But it was crazy, but it happened. I packed 4 suitcases and I moved to New York City in a week, just completely uprooted my life.
Just adjusting and learning the show at the same time, adjusting from, I mean, New York and LA are very different. They're both big cities.
Yeah, so I somehow was able to find, well, not somehow, it's New York City. I found a sublet a very great sublet situation. However, I did like sleep on an air mattress, I think the first 2 weeks of my rehearsal, until I was like,
Sure.
I need a real mattress. But yeah, like I think when I got the call from my agent, like I was in a McDonald's drive-through.
Yes.
And my boyfriend was next to me, we were literally getting McDonald's because I had a McDonald's commercial audition like in a couple of hours. So I canceled the audition. Or actually, I think I still may have done the audition. I don't know. And then ate the McDonald's. But I just
Celebration.
Yeah, it was so wild. So wild. It all felt not real for the first couple of months.
Did it hit you that you were going to make your Broadway debut in this like iconic show that has gotten like so much positive reaction over the years and won Tonys and all that?
It hit me on my actual debut day when I was sitting in the chair watching Andre DeShields enter the stage.
Yes, and he's genius when he enters the stage. Like the way that he played that role was insane.
Yes. Just a masterclass.
Yes.
Of storytelling, of just how to carry oneself, how to take up space, by taking your time.
Yes.
I just saw him in Death of a Salesman on Monday, and it was just like, it was so wonderful to see him in this production. And he's definitely, spoiler alert, he's definitely wearing a lot more bedazzle.
Oh,
since all his bedazzle as Hermes, but there's definitely a lot of bedazzle.
Ooh.
It was a beautiful, beautiful production, a beautiful show. I'm so excited for it to open and for everyone to see it. Like heartbreaking, but heartbreakingly beautiful.
Hey, at least you gave warning that it is heartbreaking but beautiful. So like people aren't like, oh, why didn't I know that it was heartbreaking?
Yeah.
If they could see it. Yeah.
Not to like go back to something, but I think also another moment where it hit me of like, oh, this is happening, was when I was doing like a rehearsal, it wasn't a put in rehearsal, but it was just a regular work through rehearsal where like some of our principals were called in. So I just remember like, oh my God, like Eva is right there. And I remember seeing her in Saigon, and again from the audience, like
another
yeah, like in the 6th row of the orchestra, and being just blown away completely by her performance. And then now she's like literally 6 feet apart from me and we're on the same stage. Like, just gave me chills.
I mean, what a like so many full circle moments. Amazing. So what was the hardest choreography to learn? The choreography in Hadestown is like insane, and like so it's so genius. I feel like the stage, everything about the staging is just like they make the most of this, of like not much staging, but it's also such a beautiful set at the same time. Like it's not an over the top set. It's just kind of there.
I think, yeah, maybe it's not over the top, but it's definitely complicated. And
yes, the turntables.
I mean, we have 3 turntables. They are going in different directions. And we have an 8-foot hole also. So, you know, there's definitely lots of stairs. Also backstage,
cardio,
offstage, cardio. I'm also in the top floor of our building for dressing rooms. So really, Persephone and Eurydice are also up there. So we all really feel it. We are getting our steps in, people. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a beautiful set. It's a beautiful the movement is also so specific. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing Newsies or like an American in Paris. But it's so specific, and it's so, everything is to move the story along and to keep creating the world, especially like the contrast of what it is above ground and underground, like chef's kiss. Definitely not easy to do.
I mean, you have to do choreography on turntables, so like,
speaking of physical trainer, or my PT, we are trying to take care of some things so that the body doesn't break down.
yes.
Yeah, definitely the turntables have been very informative. Of like the first time you're on it, everybody's like, oh my goodness, you know,
Like earthquake.
earthquake or vertigo or like, whoa. Because yeah, it's a lot faster than it seems when you're riding it for the first time, or just when you're on it. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, this thing is going. But yeah, it's once you obviously get the hang of it. Like I remember when I was trying to step on the turntable as a fate, because that track requires heels, and I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. But it happened. I definitely did fall on stage during a show once when I went on as a fate, but it's okay.
It happens.
Again, we're not going for perfection here. We're striving for progress. And oh gosh, I'll never forget that moment though.
Hey, I would completely face plant on the turntable in the middle of the stage and just be like, okay, I'm done.
I feel like everyone has tripped or fallen at some point.
I mean, it happens when there's 3 moving turntables going in like different directions on the stage, and you're doing choreography, singing, and also in heels for fate.
It's not a lot of real estate, you know, and we are a small cast too, but like, yeah, it's, you have to be everything has to be very specific for it to work, which makes it beautiful, but also again, like complicated. Yeah.
So I have to talk about, you understudy Eurydice in the show. So what was the process learning Eurydice, and how did you go about bringing yourself to the character? And can you tease how your Eurydice is unique and how you make it your own?
Funnily enough, I'm still figuring it out. And I think that's what makes understudying difficult for me, is you don't get much rehearsal. And also my experience was unique because I was learning the Eurydice track, and then I sprained my ankle in the show, and I was out for like a month.
Oh my gosh.
So I had made my Broadway debut. I was on for like a month and learning, you know, my next track, which was, or my first understudy track, which was Eurydice. And then I sprained my ankle and I was out for a month. And I think the week I came back from my injury, like that Friday was my Eurydice put-in. So yeah, I mean, if I'm being really honest, like, you know, I'm also someone who not only is super hard on themselves and, you know, struggles to show themselves grace, even though my name is Grace. But yeah, and just wanting to do things perfectly. Like, I also think, you know, fighting the imposter syndrome, which I'm sure a lot of actors like talk about constantly, or it's just a very human thing to do. Of, we compare ourselves, we judge ourselves against like other people, and yeah. So I think for me, I don't know, just this being my first Broadway show, and then I was understudying a leading lady role, like it felt like a lot. Like it felt like I just moved here from Los Angeles. I'm not even acquainted with the city. You know, like I really struggled to root myself or feel settled, like because again, like not only was I learning a new show, I was just learning how to like live in New York City. And I arrived in the best season, the winter season.
Yay! So you're
So
like, I don't have a like New York coat because I lived in LA.
yeah, we had like a clothing swap recently, and I saw a pair of like these boots, and I was like, oh, those will be perfect for the snow. And people were just like, those aren't snowshoes, honey. Oh, okay, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, they were more like rain boots, but they were like, oh, they will not survive the snow. So I was like, cool, 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 cool. But anyway, yeah, and also just again, like I really look up to Eva too, and just she's so consistent and really gives 110% like every time. Um, and I think like me comparing myself to that level of performance, like is not fair to anybody, because she's been doing this for a very long time. Like, even though she's younger than me, like, she's been doing this for a very long time. Not just Hadestown, but just understanding the 8 show grind and schedule. And yeah, so I can't compare where I am with where she's at. And again, this is the being patient with yourself, showing yourself grace, showing yourself self-compassion. But yeah, I'm still learning like maybe that's like bad to say. I hope my assistant director isn't watching this, but
I think it's a process. I think that's really cool to say, actually, because it's a process of understanding the character and understanding like how you relate to the character.
Yeah, you're not given the 5 weeks of rehearsal to be able to play and explore. Like, I think I maybe had 2 to 3 music rehearsals, and then 5 like just learning the blocking staging rehearsals, and it was my put in. So I mean, I don't know if this is like wrong to say, but for me, sometimes anytime I go on, and it's only been like maybe all of 10 times, I think I haven't even gone on, maybe just barely hit 5 times for going on as a fate, either 1 or 2. But it really feels like being an understudy sometimes feels like anytime you go on as your understudy track, feels like everybody's witnessing your rehearsal. Or like it feels like a rehearsal or like a dress rehearsal, but there's like a full paying audience to see you. I mean, I don't know if that's like the best explanation for what it feels like, but yeah, it's like people are witnessing you discover and work it out, which I don't think it's just for understudies, like I want to say
probably. It's for leads too, probably. Like,
yeah, for leads, like just even, if you saw the previews, like seeing Hadestown now, you're gonna see completely different, like completely different, because there's continual growth. Like, no matter if you're an understudy or on stage every night, like the beautiful thing about theater is actually you are exploring every night and trying to find new things, things you haven't really like clocked before for whatever reason, or certain things mean differently now than it did then. I'm sure like the cast experience that, like from pre-COVID to post-COVID, of just, I'm sure they feel completely different, maybe not completely, but there's like a difference. Something definitely shifted, and we're all still kind of yeah, it's like as you keep marinating more and more, the flavors change. Yeah,
it's a full speed ride kind of right now, but like it kind of took a little dip and then it's like, okay, we're back.
Yeah, I guess for understanding for me is like the only thing that makes it bumpy is the self-doubt, as opposed to really fully trusting yourself and just going for it. And But yeah, what makes it fearful, what makes the experience scary or fearful is like the lack of trust in your abilities of like, I know this, I don't have to do this perfectly. Because, sometimes it will be like a month and a half will go by before I'm on for Eurydice. Like, Eva's an amazing, incredibly, like one of the hardest working people I know. Like, she also does not call out. Yeah, like, so it's, anytime I go on, it's because she has like a conflict or something like that, or a concert. She is one of the hardest working actors I know, but which is amazing. But yeah, like I think I haven't gone on for one of the fates. Like the day I fell in front of 900 people, I don't think I've been on for that track in over like a month and a half, or since a month and a half. So, it's so spread out, few and far in between, or it's like super last minute. So again, if you struggle with anxiety, it's not the best. It's not ideal, but I'm really learning a lot about just letting go of control.
I mean, and people come, like theater fans especially, they come and see the show multiple times to see like the show played out differently, and to see different cast members on stage, and to see how it works with different cast members on stage. And I think that's also beautiful about live theater, is that no performer is exactly the same in the role that they're playing.
Yeah, I will say the Hadestown fans specifically, like they love seeing our understudies go on, which is so amazing. Like I feel like the incorrect response, right, of just like, oh man, it's the understudy today, or it's not the actual like whatever performer. I feel like that's like the opposite. Like for Hadestown fans, they like seek out, oh, it's so and so going on for this track today, like we must go. Like it's awesome, that level of support. And yeah, because everybody is amazing.
And I think I've noticed it like more and more with social media, that people like go to seek out when understudies are on to see the show and to see their favorite characters played by different people, which is beautiful.
Yes.
How do you think you're like Eurydice, and how do you think you're different from her? She's a very three-dimensional character.
How do I think I'm like her? I think the part where it's like seeing how the world was is very similar to me, because I too catastrophize. And I think Eurydice is someone who understands the foreboding joy struggle of like, yeah, whatever, like it can't be, it's like too good to be true. Something must happen next, or just yeah, I feel like that's where we are alike, in terms of we're so vulnerable, but we have this like shell that was created to protect ourselves. How are we different? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe those are the parts I'm discovering. But in the beginning, I like literally could not see myself as Eurydice. Like, even as I was hired to play this track. As
so you're like, gotta learn how I'm like her, and like that's part of the research and playing and preparing for the show.
Just like finding my voice, like where this sits in my voice and where it sits just with me emotionally, what flowers means to me. I just feel like I just need to marinate more.
And I mean, how do you, because 8 times a week you're performing this show and it's very emotionally heavy. How do you keep up with stamina, and like how do you emotionally go about it?
Yeah, I will say it's not like a da 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 like
No,
happy
no, no.
lucky. But thank goodness for me, because I'm a very emotional person. I want to say being able to like emotionally release um, is helpful for me personally as Grace, the human being, not like the actor, or, the worker, underground worker, or whatever. Yeah, like I guess I am more used to growing up with like more melancholy and so the cries are good.
Hey,
That happen are good.
yeah.
Sometimes it's harder to smile through the pain, but like, especially like when we're underground and like you see us rise out and we're doing that 6-minute number
Yes.
just like, with our backs bent over, we don't have to smile through it. We can really show that this is really freaking hard and everything hurts. Like sometimes there's no acting required to show the struggle.
Hard number. It's
Uh,
one of my favorites, but it's hard number.
a very, very hard number. Again, like not for the technicality or, we're not doing like gymnastics or, tumbling. But yeah, it's just a very specific
It's just
shape we are creating. So yeah, and then just with any show too, I guess, just like the overuse, right? Like um so it just comes with really having to focus on maintaining, like doing the self-care and self check-ins and self-maintenance. I'm still again trying to find my own groove and rhythm of what keeps me centered, what keeps me grounded, what keeps me happy. Why am I doing this? And you know, I'm experimenting, but there's definitely yoga, meditation, therapy, Epsom salt baths, bubble baths, massages, pedicures, food, like nature.
yeah.
I guess just you have to keep filling things that give you life. Um,
It's
because
so important.
I think I really struggle with trying to find a work-life balance. Yeah, I need to keep pouring into myself so that I can pour out every night, right? Otherwise, like we are literally running on fumes, and it's not worth it.
I think it's so important to hear that it's not like an overnight process
Uh-uh.
when like as because like you're on Broadway and I feel like that's a lot of people's like goal, like huge goal in life as a performer is to get to the Broadway stage. But I feel like it's very important for those up and coming performers to hear, hey, like it doesn't happen overnight. Like you don't get used to what's happening overnight, even if you're on Broadway right now.
Yeah, and especially because this is my first show, so I don't really have other Broadway contracts or theaters or things to compare it to. And I'm sure originating a Broadway show is also a very different experience of having that rehearsal process, and forming those bonds with like those castmates. Because there's like a difference when you kind of are entering as like a cog in the wheel and of an already well-oiled machine. Like it can be a very isolating and lonely process, and it takes time to like find people you connect with, or like who are, I don't know, willing to be emotionally available and form connections with you. Because everybody, that's what I was thinking, like, oh, most people in this show or any Broadway shows have been in New York for years. They have their communities outside of work, they have their
Yeah.
roots planted. Whereas I feel like transplants like me that just kind of boop, like got uprooted and then dropped, um, which again, like, is an incredible story. Like, it's an incredible journey, and I don't like take any of that for granted. But I think I have to be very careful when I speak of my personal experience to say that it is personal, that, you know, it's not a one size fits all thing or like a formula thing. But I think a lot of people, or a lot of times, we get scared to talk about the parts that are hard, because so much of like just getting there is the goal for so many aspiring artists. But like, I'm not gonna lie, some parts of Broadway really felt like, not to go back to Wizard of Oz, but like the unveiling, like meeting the wizard behind the veil. It's like, oh, there are things that are still systematically like not right. I don't think Eva should have to carry the burden of being like the only like Asian female American, Mexican American, like leading lady on Broadway. I feel like there really should be more of us being represented.
100%.
Because I think a lot of the imposter syndrome, specifically for, you know, actors of color, it's like really there are extra hurdles for us that internally or externally we are having to overcome, I think. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm like also trying to navigate. This is maybe like my second interview, because I'm also trying to, what do I want to say? Like, what is my message? This is like me real time trying to figure it out. You know, because I want to say it's amazing and wonderful, and there are things and moments that feel like huge milestones and quantum leap moments, like being there to witness the magic that is Amber Gray as Persephone, and Jewel, now our Jewel Blackman as Persephone, seeing both breathing and living and existing on the same playing field as Andre the Shields and T. Oliver and now Lilius White. Like, I will never forget that moment at Andre's last show when he started just singing from The Wiz. Oh my God, the theme of this is just Wizard of Oz. But
everyone loves Wizard of Oz. Oh.
But yes, he sang from The Wiz, and it just like that song of, you know, just believe in yourself. Like, I really feel like I know he wasn't singing to me, but it really felt like I don't know what it's called, but it just like really something hit me powerfully that night of, I have to believe in myself that I can also be Eurydice. I can also be a leading lady. Like, I have to believe in myself. So something definitely shifted that night, even though I still struggle with, you know, believing myself, honestly. But yeah, just there are moments I can't, you know, exchange, like, but there are also really challenging and hard moments of trying to navigate this space and finding places where I feel emotionally safe, you know. Yeah. But anyway.
Hey, and you should be so proud of yourself.
I just dribbled water. I hope that was Connor. Also, the sun has shifted, so it's definitely, I hope it's not blinding people.
But seriously, you should be so proud of yourself. You like moved to the opposite end of the country and restarted, started a whole journey.
I was literally working at a Ross 1 year ago. Ross Dress for Less.
Oh my gosh. And look now, like, so much has happened.
So much has happened. So I don't know, like, whoever's listening to this, it's just like, you just keep going, you know, like,
yes.
I never in a million years would have thought this would be my fate. Like, 1 year later, here I am, because I was definitely in the break room at a Ross Dress for Less, being very sad because I was also not very good at my job. Turns out OCD is not great for working efficiently at a retail store.
I mean, especially when a lot of stores are like Forever 21 and people just like put up like the clothes that they just tried on in like random places in the stores.
But it's like, the thing is, you would find like baby, you know, pacifiers in like the men's section, and you're just like, how dare you? I will never shop like that ever again.
Oh my God.
Things go back. I will hang up every item.
I am never entering your houses.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a better customer everywhere I go.
Oh. And last question about Hadestown. How would you convince people to come see Hadestown on Broadway if they haven't already, or on the tour if the tour is coming to them?
How would I convince people? Just look at the number of Tonys. I'm just kidding.
Right.
To some people, they're like, who's Tony? How would I convince people? I think it is very hard to find musicals nowadays with original music.
Yes.
And that's not based on a movie.
True.
I don't know. It's really about the story. There's no other way, I think. It's definitely not like a happy story, but the importance, right, of like the "but we sing it anyway" part is why we all go to the theater or watch things, you know, on our TV screens, on our, you know, phones or laptops, like why we need storytelling, why we need the arts. You know, like no one is watching Euphoria to find happiness and lightheartedness, but it's like there's something about like just seeing something that makes us feel, alive. Like, and I will say, you know, whether you see Hadestown on the tour on Broadway or just like theater in general as a medium, right? It's like you will not ever get that from watching it on a screen.
Yeah, because you have the connection. You have everything right in front of you.
There is just that tangible energy. I mean, I guess the closest thing might be in the movie theaters, which also a lot of people are not going to the movies a lot anymore. They're like, we're just going to wait to stream it on Disney Plus.
A lot of straight to Netflix and straight to Disney Plus too right now.
Yeah, but it's that even last night I was just feeling we had a great audience, and like when I say great, it's not necessarily that they like cheer louder, although that helps sometimes, but it's just like that dialogue, you know, where we're breathing together, where you just feel this like spark, this energy currency of like there's just this exchange that I don't think you can really get when you binge watch something, although the storytelling and the talent on there of the artists and everybody involved in the projects, right, the crew and editing and everything, but yeah, there's just something that that is only unique to the theater. So I don't know, I want to say all this to say, very long-winded answer, but it's kind of like taking a very old Greek tale, but like there's contemporary sound, and it's just like a collision of those two things that I feel like
magical. Yeah,
it's very unique. I don't know that there is a show like that.
Yeah, I don't think there is, at least right now, a show like Hadestown. And yeah. I mean, when you enter a theater, when the show starts, you turn off your phone and there's no distractions of phones for like 2.5 hours.
I mean, sometimes there because people forget. But yeah,
during the quiet moments.
Yeah. It's exactly which quiet moment we're talking about. I don't want to spoil that, but you literally hear the breath of the audience. Like it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
I just love when people forget to turn off their phones at the quiet moments, and the quiet moment happens and everyone's just like, and then you hear just like this ringtone go off.
Yeah. It's
like,
but hey, listen, like sometimes there will be like fire trucks and things like very reminding us that we're in New York City. But again, we are able to just escape all that and like focus on the story that's being told, and literally like a tale as old as time, not to be making all Beauty and Beast. Truly, like where theater originated from, these like Greek, tragedies and things, but yeah, making it so universal and timeless, I think, with the music and everything.
Yes. And before I get to my last question, I want to manifest, what is your dream role, whether it's on Broadway or whether it's on a screen or something?
My dream role is going to get me a Tony Award. I mean, I say that half jokingly because I don't think anyone who looks like me has won the Best Actress in a Musical category.
We're manifesting it though.
Since Lea Salonga won it in 1991, when I was born.
That's really insane, actually. Like
whole generation of people out there who have grown up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and that's why, like, again, Eva was put on such a high pedestal because both nominations since, I think, Lea for Best Actress, leading actress anyway, because, we've had amazing actors in the supporting categories nominated, but I'm talking like leading actress category. I think both times it was Eva. So, there's still a glass ceiling and we're trying to break through and see everybody represented. I mean, there may be a world, I hope soon, where it's not a gendered category anymore. And, so we really truly make everybody included and feel seen. But my dream role is to originate a dream role. So I don't know what that is yet.
So we're going to find out one day, but you're going to win a Tony.
Yeah, I don't know if I can top Andre's speech or as of late, the Cheryl, was it? Oh my gosh, what's the name? Cheryl Lee Ralph? Did I say it right? Oh, this is so bad. This is why I stay away from saying names, even though we give credit where credit is due. But recently, her Emmy speech for Abbott, her role in Abbott Elementary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The one where someone lied down on the stage.
Oh no, that was the creator, the lead.
Yeah.
And I believe
that was for Abbott too, right?
For writing, for Abbott. Yeah, she was a creator and the lead on Abbott. I believe her name is Quinta, and no, but it was the one where it was like the best 16 bar cut of your life. And it was just yeah, you have to watch it, but it's not going to top that speech because those go down in the books as like, I think, one of the greatest,
like iconic
award speeches ever done. There are a lot of those at the Emmys this year, actually, but we're talking about the Tonys. But yeah, my dream role is to originate a dream role, and originate a role where I don't feel like I have to be a circle in a square peg or a square peg in a circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about fitting the mold.
Yes, you can be yourself and explore the character and like create a whole character.
Yeah.
For people to want to play.
Yeah, I don't want to have to be anything to do with my Asianness, which is also why I love being Eurydice. It's just like, you know, not to like dismiss um, you know, roles that are like specific to your ethnicity and race, but it's sometimes I feel like can be limiting of just, oh, because you look a certain way, you are only eligible to play these roles. The best friend role, the sidekick role. It's like, no, no, no.
No, I'm gonna play this role. I'm gonna audition for this role.
Yeah, like,
yes.
Why not? Why can't it be me?
Exactly.
What I say with my friend Anthony, why can't it be me?
Yes, exactly. So before I move on to my last question, where can people follow you on social media to keep up with what you're doing?
I'm so sorry that the sun is fully moving. But currently I am not active on social media. I have taken a little hiatus. I kind of do that sometimes. I'm weird like that. But when it just gets a little noisy up here, I'm like, let me not be on my phone for 24 hours a day. But I will probably be back on Instagram, usually is where you can find me. It's Kimchi on Broadway. That's KIMCHI on Broadway. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
And I'll put it in the lower thirds. And I so love that. Like, it's so hard to take social media breaks. So, like, good for you.
Yeah, sometimes like it's, I think, necessary.
I agree, and I totally wish that I was good at that, but I'm not good at taking social media breaks.
Yeah, I highly recommend it because you'll find you have all this time to like, oh, I can breathe, I can cook, I can read.
And not like scroll through and compare yourself to people on your timeline.
No.
Yes, exactly. So lastly, is there anything that you want to promote or talk about, or just tell people to come see Hadestown?
Let's see. Come see Hadestown.
Yes.
So that we can run forever and ever on Broadway. I will promote Homemade Thursdays. It's basically what my friends started during the pandemic. My friend Benet and her husband Rashid, who is a chef. He's a private chef now, but during the pandemic, they out of their own kitchen started cooking like 100 meals a week for people who are without homes, who are unhoused, and they would literally drive to different spots in LA, and it's been happening for like a year now, and that was really one of my favorite things to do. Like every Thursday was go cook because I love cooking. I think if I wasn't an actor, I'd probably be in the restaurant industry, but I would go cook and just prepare these meals. And, you know, I know that there are a lot of these organizations around, but like, I think it's very hard to see like made from scratch good meals, not just like it was frozen and then defrosted or it's like processed or packaged. Like this chef is cooking everything like from scratch. And it's just nice to like have that meal. Like, I don't know, food brings me personally a lot of comfort. So to do that in a tangible way. So yeah, you can find them at Homemade Thursdays. I believe they're currently not established, or well, they're partnered with a church called First Christian Church in Burbank, California.
Oh,
that's where you can give monetarily, just for like tax benefits and write-offs and stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, my dream for it is to like have it also be bi-coastal, like
that would be
New
amazing.
York too. Yeah, because you know, there's just so many people in New York who are experiencing homelessness, and you see them every day on the trains, and what would it mean if there was a place to be. And again, there are probably many like great organizations and shelters like doing this, but I guess that's my next thing of like maybe trying to find a place where I could give back that way too, like I did there. But it's hard with an 8-show-week schedule.
I mean, you're busy, but I'm so glad you promoted that. I'm gonna put that in the description for anyone who's curious, and I'm gonna actually look them up and see how I can help out with what they do.
Yeah, just even like word of mouth or spreading that way, because right now they're currently in Los Angeles, so like I know it's hard for people to like give outside of, well, I don't know, people are amazing sometimes, just pouring in like from all over the country.
It's so great. And I like, you're right, like you see people like on the streets who are like needing food, and that's just, it's so important for them to have like a meal that they can enjoy, like a once in a while meal even. That's special and like homemade, and like it shows people care. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk about your theater career and to just like give a bunch of really good advice and wisdom to up and coming performers and to just everyone, no matter what industry they're in.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it was coherent. Like sometimes I do feel like a lot of, all over the place. Like I feel like each question took me like 30 minutes to answer, but
you're very inspiring and you're very like real.
I appreciate that.
I like how you speak from your heart.
Yeah, I mean, the perks of being an INFJ, a 4 on the Enneagram, a Pisces rising or presenting person, I guess. I don't know.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.